New tonight, our state budget is facing a real challenge. After years of abundant federal money in the wake of the pandemic, it is projected that state revenues are leveling off. Tonight, Governor Janet Mills walked taxpayers and legislators through her plans to balance the budget. Here's News Center Maine's Donovan Lynch.
Governor Mills on Tuesday pitching her budget plan to state lawmakers and urging cooperation as they get to work on it.
But I encourage you to reserve judgment and not create barriers to compromise.
The governor emphasizing the commitments her $11.6 billion spending plan makes in funding things like public education and free community college.
My budget maintains these significant programs.
Mills also defending her budget's proposed tax hikes on things like tobacco and adult use cannabis.
These targeted increases, I think, all told, are reasonable. They raise revenues while leaving the wallets of most Maine families untouched.
After the speech, Republicans doubling down on their promise to resist any budget with new taxes.
The governor lied flatly when she said she wasn't going to raise taxes.
I think it's a priority problem, a spending problem, not a tax problem.
And amid Democratic worry at the governor's proposed cuts to certain programs in the Department of Health and Human Services, Mills acknowledging the concern.
Listen, those decisions have not been easy to make.
Apart from the budget, in her speech, Mills criticized an effort to get a red flag gun law on the November ballot, instead throwing praise behind the current yellow flag law used to confiscate weapons from at-risk Mainers.
The law provides due process, and it will survive legal scrutiny.
Democratic Speaker of the House Ryan Fecteau hinting at an appetite from some in the party for more.
I think my colleagues on my side of the aisle, folks who are concerned about gun violence, believe that the law still is not going far enough.
Now, leaving her spending plan in the hands of lawmakers, Mills is presenting her proposal as a happy medium between the desires of Democrats and Republicans.
I've put forward a budget that does not rely entirely on either revenue increases or cuts to programs.
In Augusta, Donovan Lynch, News Center, Maine.
There, of course, is a lot to break down from tonight's address. Donovan also spoke with our political analysts after hearing the governor's plan.
We're here unpacking the governor's State of the Budget speech with Democratic analyst Betsy, Republican analyst Garrett Mason. I want to start with just quick reactions. What did you make of this speech? Garrett, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the governor, she delivers a very even tone message, and so it's more of a recital rather than a typical State of the State address. But I think there's some holes in the budget. I think you look at things like Medicare and school funding. Those have always been the biggest problems in the budget every single year, but they're larger this year. I think the legislature's got a lot of really tough decisions to make, and it's not going to be comfortable for anybody.
Betsy, what was your take?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a difficult budget. We're in a difficult time nationally and in the state in terms of fiscal stuff, and I think basically her budget displeased most people. I think the Republicans aren't happy, and I think the Democrats aren't that happy, and I think that's going to make it either that means it's a good budget because everybody's unhappy, or it means it's a budget that's going to have a really rough sledding.
And if you're a Democratic legislator tonight, a lot of the stuff covered in the speech was, in the budget proposal that was unveiled earlier this month. What may have changed if you're a Democrat after hearing the speech?
Well, I think two things changed. One is what happened today on the federal level when Trump said he was going to just freeze all federal spending, which is, millions and millions of dollars to the state of the most vulnerable people in the state. So we don't know what's even going to come of that yet, but if that happens, then what the state is going to have to do to make that up is going to be significant. At the same time, we are going to have to mitigate those cuts, right? We also, the reason he's doing those cuts is to give more money to people on the wealthiest end. But we have never mitigated the tax increase or the tax cuts that LePage put in, which is exactly the exact amount of money that we are in deficit, $462 million. So I'm not saying get rid of all of those, but I'm saying if we're going to mitigate on one side by having to do the spending, we have to look at where the money's going to go to corporations and wealthy people from the feds as well. And I think the other thing that's really difficult in this budget is that a lot of this is being tough times, guaranteed everywhere, is being balanced on the backs of those who can afford it least. Child care workers, direct care workers, people who, that is not where cuts need to be coming. While we are not touching the people, the surcharge on $200,000 plus that the Maine people passed. Right? And luxury yachts, third homes. There are places we can go that are really wealthy people in Maine who aren't being touched while we are this budget is taking it out on child care workers, direct care workers, people who are both our neighbors and friends and people we depend on.
Garrett, what's your response to that?
I think, Betsy mentioned former Governor Paul LePage, and I think Paul LePage was laughing somewhere, whether he's here or in Florida right now, because the two big holes in the budget were Medicare expansion, paying hospitals, and also 55% of education. Two huge cost drivers. Those are things that Republicans warned against, that if those things were expanded back in the 2011, 2012, 2013 era, that you would see these problems in the future. The reduction of the federal FMAP, that's things that Republicans warned about, that if you expand and the feds decide to reduce those reimbursements to the state, you're going to see these big holes. So I think somewhere Paul LePage was saying, "I told you so," because this is something that he predicted about a decade ago.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Obviously, the budget process just beginning. It's in the hands of the legislature, the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee right now. In Augusta, I'm Donovan Lynch, News Center, Maine.
Now, if you missed it tonight, you can watch Governor Mills' full State of the Budget address and the full Republican response. It is on our free News Center Maine Plus app right now. It's available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire.